Okay, so we're just getting things sorted out, so bear with me for a few moments. It's dark at Edwards Air Force Base at the moment. Live. Just making sure things are configured correctly here. Okay, first things first, let's go and fuel this thing up. We're going to fill it to the top. Scramjet tanks are full, normal fuel tanks are full. So to do this flight we are going to have to navigate basically, so we're going to be using the Great Circle route from Little Nav Map, so we will put some markers in it along the way. So let's just do that. So add a position to the flight plan, and we're going to subdivide the Great Circle route because we want to fly the straightest line possible, but because the aircraft has no navigation system of its own, we're going to have to hand fly it. So we're going to get the rough directions to fly each segment of the route, which will give us bearings between the various sections, if that makes sense. That's probably enough. So in other words, we fly 24 degrees, 40 degrees, 65 degrees, 84 degrees, and so on. So we're just making the Great Circle route make sense in terms of compass directions, because obviously if you look at this on a spherical projection of the Earth, we're actually flying a straight line, but look at the differences in the compass directions here, because we are not, oops, let's just spin the Earth around so it makes sense. Yeah, we are not flying a normal direction at all. Okay, so let's get this back to a Mercator projection. So our first leg when we leave Edwards, we'll obviously get the aircraft sorted out and get to altitude, but then we'll be heading for 24 degrees magnetic. So let's just zoom this in so we get some idea of what we're doing along the way and our progress, because our progress is going to be rapid once we get things up and running. Okay, first things we do in this aircraft is turn on the systems. So we have electrical power to the aircraft, and it comes on instantly, which is really useful. Okay, so we're just going to be flying compass headings all the way. So let's get the APU started, and this will light up ready in a moment. I'm just going to make sure all of my controls are in the appropriate positions, and I need to actually go into the control options in Flight Simulator and change the mappings to make it make sense. I think I have one for the Dark Star. If not, the Baron should be okay actually. Play, go back, resume. Because this has two engines and it has no... Let's just check this. Okay, so that's waiting for the afterburner. So if we were to press the afterburner button, is that mapped? Let's just make sure I haven't got a Dark Star mapping on here that's got the afterburner already on it. I wish this was a drop down, I really do. Baron, 4 engine, PC6. We could use settings for the F-18 actually, that would work. because I do have an afterburner button mapped for the F18. So we'll do that. Apply. Go back. Resume. So if I push this all the way forwards, then I get afterburner. Yeah, that works. And then you pull this back and it takes us out of afterburner. Cool. Okay, so we have power, we have the APU up and running now. Let's go and start the engines. There isn't much point turning on the beacon lights. What do the nav lights look like? It's just the lights on the wingtips. So the beacon lights stand proud of the overhead and underneath of the aircraft. We'll have to retract them before we go to high speed. So, has commented, thanks for doing this flight. Yeah, this is a really stupid idea for a flight, isn't it? But we'll see. We'll see how we get on. Okay. Generators to on. Close the hood on that. And we're pretty much ready to go. So come off the parking brake. Obviously it's dark outside. So we're just taxiing out to the runway at Edwards. Now we're going our way. Just starting to slow down, or trying to slow down, before we make the turn for the runway. Okay. Just come to a stop. Let's go and refer to the map before we get going. So our first angle we want to fly is 24 degrees. In live chat, someone's saying I did the Dark Star mission, but it just gives me a tick instead of a high score, which my mate got. I have no idea why. Okay, let's get on the way. Just going to accelerate slowly down the runway, he says, as it rips through 100 knots. 160, 70, 80, 90, and rotate gently, and we're up. Gear up. So we're flying almost the opposite direction that we need to be. So we're going to turn left, gently climb out. See at the moment. I say gently climb out. This thing doesn't do anything gently, does it? So we're on 30 degree climb out. We're coming around to the direction we need to be going. should we go for some reheat? So we're coming up through 15,000 feet. There goes the reheat. I have absolutely, I'm just reading live chat. Someone's asking, will we keep the Top Gun challenges for good? I have absolutely no idea. So we're just climbing up through 20,000 feet. And full reheat. Let's go a bit steeper climb. So we're not really interested in looking at the indicated airspeed, we're looking at the Mach number. Because the indicated airspeed as we climb becomes less and less representative. 30,000 feet. So we'll start just, we should roll it over. Just to lower the nose. Wind those lights back in because they are going to become a source of drag. So what we basically do is get this into the right operating window. So we're going to gently descend now and watch it accelerate. Mach 0.9 coming up. Mach 1. Rate of acceleration is increasing enormously. Mach 1.2, so I'm going to gently pull out. It says gently 3G pull out. We'll give it another go in a moment. Coming back up to 36,000 feet at a rate of knots. Yeah, we're increasing speed now, so we'll continue up to 60 or 70,000 feet now, and then we'll get to Mach 3 and then we can engage the engines. So let's have a look on the map and see where we are at the moment. We're still not really moving, but we will be soon, so we haven't engaged the engine yet. Mach 1.4. All about getting up to speed. Just doing it in a we're not in a rush. This isn't the most efficient profile you could follow. So let's pull this up a little bit steeper. Get up into that thin air. Okay, now we're going to get the dive to Mach 3 and then get the engines on. Okay. Six. Seven. 1.8. 2. And now it's really picking up some speed. Mach 2.2. 2.3. 2.4. 2.5. 2.6. 2.7, 2.8, 2.9, Mach 3. Okay, are we ready? The engines will kick in obviously when they are in the right. Interesting. Why have they not kicked in? Oh, I was turn them on. It would help, wouldn't it? There we go. Just give them a second. There we go. Engines have kicked in. So now we're going upstairs very, very quickly. So the gas turbines are now switched off. Coming up for, we're going to go and climb quite hard now because we're going 100,000 feet. Mach 5 is just coming up. So we are going upstairs at a rate of knots, and you can see we are moving on the map now. Mach 7, just passed through. So we're going to start just gently moving the nose back down. Actually we'll roll it to do that. And we're just coming up for Mach 10. Mach 10 we are doing now. Hurrah! 10.07, 10.1. So we're not going to go full throttle all the way. So I'm going to slowly ease off. think we've just hit the ceiling of Flight Simulator actually. 275,000 feet is the ceiling of the sim. So we'll get a bit lower than that. So what will this cruise at? I've just pulled it back to 50% throttle. This is as much interest to me as it is to you, really. I mean, obviously we could blow its guts out, but I want to see how slow I can go for an extended period of time. There we go. It's absolutely shifting as well. Let's turn the nav lights off. There's no reason to have any nav lights on, is there? Nobody needs to avoid us at this altitude. Obviously we are beyond the speed of sound, but if we get behind the aeroplane, we can hear it. So we can see the sunrise. So we need to keep an eye on where we are on the track. So we need to be turning gently left, gently right, sorry. So we've levelled out about just below Mach 6 at 50% throttle. And we're using 5,000 pounds per hour. The indicated airspeed has fallen to pieces, isn't it? It really doesn't know what to show us. All we're really interested in, though, is the Mach number. We can't easily see how much fuel we've got left either. Yeah, none of this is really going to help us. Just see how we get on, see when we run out of fuel. We should have plenty. So, Mach 6, just under. Avgeek says, "Hey Jonathan, haven't tuned into the streams for a bit. I'm back. Nice to see you." Should we put some music on while we're ripping along through the sky? So if we come in here and go to YouTube and we search for lo-fi beats, lo-fi beats, and we play them, there is a piece of text I will need to put in the channel description. Does this zoom, is it different cameras or is it just the zoom level, isn't it? We'll leave it zoomed out. How are we doing on the altitude we're climbing? Oh, we're at the ceiling of the simulator again. Let's get that down. We want to make this as efficient as we can. So we're essentially running 50% throttle and the fuel is hardly moving, which is good to see. Ground speed 3,000 knots, 3,100 knots. Let's see what the fuel levels are looking like. So volume levels. So I should move my microphone a bit closer to myself, shouldn't I? And maybe turn the simulator down a bit. Or turn the background noise down a bit. Okay. If we go in here and open the volume mixer and we turn the simulator down a bit, and it won't dominate the sound because it's just going to be the rumble of the engines. Mach 5.9. Just watching those fuel tanks coming down. Wondering if we'll be okay at this sort of speed. So if we come down off the throttle, how much does that impact the Mach number? Quite markedly. So if we go out to full throttle, that's at 0.17 £1,000 per hour. At 50% throttle, it was £0 per hour, or 1. It's only just registering at 50%. That's interesting. Let's go lower and see if we get a speed increase at a lower altitude. Just gently pushing this over into a dive. Yeah, the thicker air is of no advantage. We're actually losing speed. We're better off at altitude. I'm just pulling up the velocity vector to get it back level. 250,000 feet is fine for our purposes. So as you can see, the engines are wound right back. But they're still keeping us going at Mach 5.5-ish. With very, very low fuel rate. Fuel burn rate, I should say. Let's have a look at the map. So we need to make a first turn to 40 degrees magnetic. So let's make this turn. So look at the map. So we're just straightening up to go for the next leg, basically. So although it looks like we're following a curving path, we're really not. If we put this on spherical projection, we're going in a straight line around the Earth. Whoops, the Earth has just rotated itself. Yeah. So we're actually straight lining it from Edwards Air Force Base right the way across the world to the United Kingdom. Should we leave this on the outside view for a bit? There's the sun coming up. Right, I'm going to go and grab something to eat while we're waiting for this next leg to complete. So I'll put this on minimal view, open window layout, minimal. And make this smaller. Oh, and little nav map has crashed. That was really useful. And we've lost our flight plan. So we'll just program that back in. Airports from KEDW. To Warton. Set that as the destination. So we will just make course corrections along the way. So window, open. I wonder if it was the spherical projection, it just didn't like doing it. So we will just steer for the route along the way. I'm just trying to make this window smaller. Okay, let's have a quick look inside and see how fast we're going. 5.4, we're just descending. Lift the nose gently. So on the climb out we went through Mach 10 for a few moments. But it's obviously incredibly wasteful of fuel to go that fast. So let's have a nice view of the world as we transit. Okay, so we're going over the US-Canadian border right now. This is going to be fun. I hope we do get there on one tank. We should do. Right, I'm going to go and grab something to eat. I'll be back in a few minutes. gently descending. Let's just have a look. It's interesting how it rocks, isn't it? Yeah, we haven't seen Top Gun yet. I'm going to go and see it hopefully later this week. Should we get rid of the taskbar off of Windows? So we need to be turning right again. And the sim has frozen. Okay, so my theory about the USB ports has just gone out the window. It's problems with the servers loading scenery or multiplayer aircraft. Yeah, the USB port's just recycled. That's why it suddenly said spoilers for 1/10 of a second. There are so many problems with this simulator. Let's have a look at that route we're going. How are we doing on fuel? We have hardly touched our fuel. I'm pretty sure we could circumnavigate the globe without too much problem. It's an odd looking thing, isn't it? It's the curvature of the Earth. So we're at 250,000 feet. We're running along at 50% throttle. And we're about to go over the top of one of the Great Lakes. If you're looking on the map, we can see exactly which lake that is. Lake Winnipeg. If you look at the top left at the moment, you can see the Pleiades just coming into view. Seeing as we seem to have a lot of fuel and it's not burning down very quickly, should we open the engines up? Yeah, I'm just opening it up now. I'm just reading the live chat. Somebody's commenting on how slow I'm going. I was going for fuel economy. Mach 9.95, that will do, won't it? You can get it to about Mach 10.3 on the absolute, you know, the best altitude. So what we're talking about here is, yeah, you get to this sort of speed and the aircraft starts to light up. It's obviously pushing it quite a bit. Obviously we are going quite a rate of knots now. Ground speed 5,500 knots. It's shifting, I think the term would be. I think it's interesting just to find out, you know, okay, it's fictional and it's all made up, so I doubt the fuel burn rate is accurate or anything, but it's interesting to find out how it behaves. So we can see the coast coming. If we zoom in on the that headland. Just north of Newfoundland and Quebec. Crossing the Hudson Bay at quite some speed. Let's see what the fuel burn down is looking like. Yeah, it's still actually quite... We can go a long way at this speed. What are we doing in terms of altitude? It's just edging towards Mach 10, so it likes to be a little bit lower. Saying that the speed is bleeding off as we get lower, so it's not tremendously efficient. So if we look round to the right, you can see down towards Newfoundland, and if we look out ahead of us, we should see Greenland will be appearing over the horizon. I think you can just see it coming. We are shifting. Mach 10. Let's go and have a look inside, see what speed we're actually doing. Mach 9.94, I do apologise. We'll let it continue dropping. I'm not sure, I haven't done any experimenting really to find out what altitude ranges provide the best performance. But the fuel again is hardly moving, so you might as well just leave it wide open. It's worth pointing out, since I opened the engines up, the aircraft's more stable. It's not wobbling anymore. Yeah, I know about the fuel altitude. Fuel economy at altitude is always going to be better. So should we take it gently back up to 270? We need to be making a turn to about... Let's have a look. Jasper Hunter has arrived. Can we go to Mach 10? You can in the right conditions, and we're not quite in the right conditions. Let's just climb a little bit. So Little Nav Map has maxed out at 244,000 feet. It doesn't read us any higher than that. But it is giving us an accurate speed reading. 5,400 knots over the ground. So we're about halfway between Edwards Air Force Base and Warton on the west coast of England. Northwest. Warton is where they flew some of the test aircraft in the 60s from, things like the TSR-2. I think it's not a long enough runway, I don't think, for Concorde at Warton. But we are shifting. Approaching Greenland. Let's go and check the fuel level. Yeah, we're easily going to do this at full throttle. Interestingly though, running at Mach 5, we could easily, I think, circle the globe. So Wrongway 2001 is saying Warton is very near Blackpool, where I learned to fly. Often saw jets take off and land there. Yeah, if you'd been there in the 60s and 70s, you would have seen all of the fighter aircraft being developed, going in and out of Warton. There's a fantastic book by Roland Beaumont about the development of the TSR-2 and about all its test flight history, and a lot of that was at Warton. There's an awful lot of rubbish is written about the TSR-2, with saying the government, killed it and should never have gone and bought the F-111 and things like that. But there's another school of thought which kind of comes from a bit more informed people, that by the time the TSR-2 was being tested, unfortunately it was developed just before transistors came in. So it was massively obsolete by the time it arrived. And it was heavy, it was unreliable, and it had massively overrun on its budget, which sounds very similar to the F-35. And the TSR-2 was made by a number of contractors, none of which got on with each other. So there were court cases and all kinds of things about the various elements of the aircraft. It's supposed to have terrain following radar. It was one of the first aircraft to ever attempt that, and that was massively late as well and ran over budget. Again, it was on the cusp of the technology changing. Hey, here comes Greenland. and we've hit the ceiling of Flight Simulator. So 275,000 feet. Well, yeah, seems to be the limit of the model. Oh, the high Mach number planes have been around for a long time. They might not be in the public realm, but they exist, and they have done for at least 30 years. There's a famous case, I've mentioned it on the channel before, and I've put the link on Discord in the past when people have asked about it, getting comments on YouTube. In the late 80s, early 90s, I think it was the early 90s, there was an earthquake report in San Francisco. There were many earthquake reports over the course of several weeks, and seismologists came forward and said that this isn't an earthquake. They said something travelled along the coastline doing upwards of Mach 7, Mach 8. And it was around the same time period that the Aurora got outed on the balance sheet with the Pentagon. And people put two and two together, but there's absolutely no proof that, you know, what the Aurora project was. That was, you know, the media took it and ran with it, and the conspiracy theorists got all of their tinfoil out of the cupboard and started making new hats. But yeah, they've had hypersonic aircraft for a very long time. The Dark Star, if you go reading about it, it's loosely based on an artist's impression on a Lockheed Martin had a brochure that went out for investors, I guess, that had an artist's impression of the SR-72, or the prospected SR-72 on it, which looks similar but not the same as this, and it doesn't have a pilot. It's a pilotless aircraft, and it's quite a bit beefier looking, because obviously it's built to be, it's not a movie prop, it's an actual, you know, an artist's impression of an operationally feasible design. So we still have tons and tons of fuel left. We're going to get to the UK no problem whatsoever. Well, it's not really a drone variant. The only artist impression of the SR-72 is the one without a pilot in it, and I've not read many articles about it, but I think it was the idea of pilots being inside these aeroplanes is going away really quickly. There was a prototype aircraft developed in the 80s called HIMAT, which explored, you know, making a pilotless fighter, but obviously the technology had to catch up in terms of control and command. But I think maybe the next 20-30 years you'll start to see AI coming to the fore. Because if you think about it, the military will want to take talent out of the equation. They will want an aircraft that can protect within, you know, given rules, and that can behave according to its rules perfectly, and AI will do that. Whereas humans are variable. They have good days and bad days, and that's the worst thing possible for the military. Yeah, I'm reading the live chat about a mother aircraft with lots of drones. Yeah, very possibly. It's interesting how this is bouncing, isn't it? Am I hitting the No, coming down. It's just interesting that it's bouncing. So, looking at the numbers earlier, if we were to run at Mach 5, we would be putting out a 40th of the amount of fuel we're using. So we could literally circumnavigate the globe multiple times if we ran at Mach 5. So it becomes exponentially less efficient the faster we try to go. It's funny, isn't it, how once you get away from a radar or from a weather station, you haven't got accurate weather, and it's just an algorithm has been used based on satellites, I guess. I don't know if you ever noticed that with Flight Simulator. When you get near an airfield, the weather model changes to the local weather, and it suddenly gets an awful lot more accurate. So you don't see any of the patterns anymore. It's an odd looking thing, isn't it? Well, we're just coming past Iceland. This isn't going to take very long at all, I think. I didn't take notice of what time we departed. That's interesting how it's bouncing, isn't it? Oh, I don't agree. I'm just reading the live chat about the driverless taxis. The driverless cars are coming whether people want it or not. And people that are, obviously, people that like cars and like driving are going to hate it. But you can see very quickly having human-driven cars will become uninsurable. I read an article a couple of years ago now about the Google cars running around California, and their accident rate was just off the chart low. The very, very few accidents they have had were caused by other vehicles driven by people, where they ran into them, basically, you know, in ways that the robot couldn't avoid. Yeah, the self-driving cars that Google have been running have got a fantastic accident rate. They've been so reliable. But yeah, whether people like it or not, having a human-driven car will become uninsurable. Yeah, but I think William's saying if there will be humans in other cars, therefore accidents, people will become uninsurable as drivers of cars. Therefore, it will happen much more quickly than anyone imagines. Well, that's what I suspect. I wouldn't put the Tesla autopilot in the same ballpark as the Google self-driving cars. It's not even. It's no. You know, there's no comparison. Tesla self-driving isn't self-driving. It's an assistant. And people make the mistake of thinking it's self-driving, and therefore they expect too much of it. We should see Scotland arriving soon. This is absolutely insane, isn't it? The speed we have arrived at Scotland. I mean, okay, yeah, we're doing Mach 9.88, so it's no accident, really, but... Shall we dip down to a lower altitude to see how fast this thing can go? So let's roll it over on its back on approach into Scotland. And see what it can do. So we're watching this Mach number. It's 200,000 feet. It's losing it. Yeah, so it's not going to manage to maintain it, which is interesting. I wondered if when we got to about 160,000 feet if it might start accelerating. Well, yeah, we're going to have a job pulling out. Pulling 3 Gs. And we're going to come out at about 160,000. Yeah, so you really do need to be the 250,000 foot realm to get to Mach 10. We needed to lose the height anyway. Ground speed 5,000 knots, so we've lost about 500 knots along the way. Gonna come whistling over the top of Ireland. We roll it over so we can at least see the other window. Here comes Ireland. We're coming down through 150,000 feet. Yeah, we're descending already. That was just mentioned, so if we're going to have a look at the map, it's not going to be long. Start coming off the throttle. So I've just disabled the crazy drive. So you can see the Mach number coming down. let's go and turn off that scramjet. So we're basically a Mach 5 glider now. I've pulled the engines back to 50% throttle, scramjet switched off. Should we come down? Let's lose some more height, shall we? Just gained aerodynamic control back, which was nice. We went through kind of a bit of a dead zone. Just coming back down through Mach 4. As we decelerate, we might have to do some turns. Obviously, as we get into the thicker air, the aircraft will slow down naturally. The other airplanes on the map are the AI aircraft the flight simulator is injecting beneath us. Jasper said, presumes the SR-72 doesn't have an air brake. Well, this isn't the SR-72, but similar to it, no, it doesn't have an air brake. So you have to do managed turns to manage your descent. So coming out to 90,000 feet. We're only 100 miles or so out now. Still doing Mach 2.6, but obviously as we descend we are losing speed. And notice it doesn't want to point in the right direction anymore. I need to be careful. I'm letting go. So we have almost departed flight. Yeah. We've tumbled, falling back in towards the ground until the air thickens up, which is not exactly the best way to be. That was my own fault for pulling too many G. We basically departed controlled flight. Have a look outside. We may actually be going. Are we going backwards? Correcting that. find an inventive way to crash this aircraft. What's going on inside? Mach 0.34, 35,000 feet. I think we may have broken it. What the engine's doing? We've got reheat. So we are slowly falling in backwards. I think we're starting to win. Hurrah! We're now vertical and the aircraft has regained a velocity vector at 15,000 feet. Hurrah! Okay. We have no control. So there's the switch. I'm going to try rebooting it. Scramjet's off. Okay, we're okay now. So I've actually seen this happen, bizarrely enough, in the Kerbal Space Program. I've done it, where you have too much angle of attack coming on in and re-entry, and the aircraft swapped ends, and because it's such a sleek aeroplane, it will go just as happily backwards in thin air, and that's what happened to us. So the aeroplane was falling backwards and didn't have enough purchase on the air around it to flip itself around until we got down to kind of 15,000 feet, until the air really started to thicken up. Couldn't do anything about it. So it fell backwards from kind of 100,000 feet down to 20,000 feet. But that's fine. So we're now at maximum military power, which should be fine to get us home. And we can open the engines up. We're doing Mach 0.83, so if we open them up, obviously we're at 15,000 feet. So here comes Mach 1 in a few moments. The bizarre thing about this thing is it's trying to simulate that the engine inlets and everything are designed for high Mach numbers, so it doesn't work very well at all at low Mach numbers. Okay, we're heading towards Warton, 20,000 feet. Stop that climb. So we're back under aerodynamic control of the plane. Because obviously when you're at high altitude in the Dark Star, you've got a reaction control system that's controlling. It's bizarre though, you don't see that outside. There's two ways you can control an aircraft in zero atmosphere. You either have gas jets, or you have a reaction control system, which is gyros. So by tilting the gyros against each other, you have multiple gyros. By tilting them, you can impart acceleration on the mass of the aircraft, so you can turn it in and you can keep it stable in the same manner. So if you ever played with a gyroscope and held onto it, you know that it has very bizarre properties in terms of inertia. Obviously I'm accelerating like a silly thing, so let's go and get rid of that speed again. So Warton is below us. About 40 miles out, just managing a descent and deceleration. It's interesting you said about the autopilot. Let's try it. If I press Z, nothing happens. No, they haven't wired it up. You could modify the config file of the aeroplane if you can find it and give it an autopilot. Whether it would work is another matter. Should we have a look on the outside view, see if we can see the airfield in the distance. So it should be on this left side here. And there it is. Make sure we get the right airfield. Yeah, we're looking good. There it is. It's just drawn in. Gear down. Nav lights on, beacon lights on. Have a look from outside. Just want to stabilise the speed so we don't keep accelerating. Try and do this from outside. It bounces. We were probably right on the limit of the angle of attack though. Where we're supposed to park at Warton. So that's got to be the fastest transatlantic crossing. Well, it was more than that, wasn't it? We came from Edwards on the far side of the US in about an hour and a half. It's not much bigger, is it, than the oh, here we go. Look, there's a bug with the Kodiak at the moment. Has anyone else seen this? Where the Kodiak sometimes loads in with the wrong textures. And I've got no mods on it. I've just got the stock Kodiak installed. Just going to park next to the crazy Kodiak here. Yeah, look, this plane is not much bigger than a Kodiak. Parking brake on. Engines off. Generators off. Power off. Did I turn the APU off? No, I didn't. Okay, there we go. We survived all the way from Edwards Air Force Base across the halfway around the world to Warton in under 2 hours. Flying at Mach 10 for, or just under Mach 10 for a great proportion of the route. That was fun. I'll see you all again soon. Yeah, I have no idea what's wrong with that Kodiak. It's very bizarre. Right, I'll stop the stream there. I'll see you soon.